Hi plant friends, it's time for the cactus and succulents tour. First up is the Euphorbia lactea white ghost. You might remember me purchasing this at one of the annual Toronto Cactus and Succulent show and sale. It's a low maintenance plant. I water it about every 2 weeks and it sits in the south facing window where it's getting a lot of sun. Every time I water this plant, it gets a little bit of feed. For all my plants, I put a little bit of fertilizer in every watering. Check out this hanging basket. The plants have really flourished in this setup. First, it's the Edith Colia, which has not bloomed for me. I'm surprised about that. And we've got the variegated Aronia zebrina, which has bloomed. We also have an Orbia in this pot, which hasn't bloomed. Normally blooms on new growth, so I'm hoping it will bloom soon. There's also a Dischidia dragon tail. This Ripsalis paradoxa has bloomed for me once, a tiny little white flower, so cute. Now this plant has grown a lot since it's been in my collection. It's grown a lot and it also has a lot of roots in the pot, so this requires watering every 2 to 3 days. In just a couple of years, this plant has grown a lot, and I've also given away cuttings. It just keeps on growing. The plants in my bedroom are getting a lot of sun. They're in a south-facing window, and they get sun until about 2 p.m. This Barrel Cactus is a thirsty one. It's in a south-facing window in the clay pot, so it dries up very quickly. In a week's time it tends to droop, so I've got to water it weekly. The crested Euphorbia trigona is low maintenance. I only have to water this once a month. Now that it's going into winter, it's going dormant and dropping a few leaves. There's also a little stowaway in this pot. It looks like a Dorstinia. This is such a beauty. It's the Monodenium shubii Tanzania red. Look at those little darling flowers. There's also a little Dorstinia in this pot as well. Now this plant is also low maintenance. I only water it once a month. Check out this rainbow cactus. It's so rewarding. It's bloomed a number of times and it's grown quite a bit. I purchased this one from Crystal Star a number of years ago. It's also very low maintenance. In the winter I water it every 2 months. In the summer I'll up the watering to every 2 weeks. Euphorbia melodia is going into dormancy. I purchased this one at the beginning of fall from one of those Toronto Cactus and Succulent show and sale. I'm so excited that it's giving off some new growth, but now that it's going to dormancy, I'm gonna hold back on watering. I also like for the dead leaves to fall off on their own instead of picking them off. The elongata is also going into dormancy. At the height of summer, this was full with leaves. This one I will also hold back watering until early spring. It's the growing season for the lithops. These are ready for a nice drink of water. In the summer I tend to hold back on watering. They're very shriveled, so they're ready for a drink, and now is the time that they tend to bloom. They normally bloom in winter when it's cool. The key to growing these is not to overwater them. I've been buying a number of them over the years, trying to perfect my skill at growing these. The variegated Haworthia limifolia is also low maintenance. The only thing that I find with this one, it does not like to have water on the leaves. Whenever I get water on the leaves, it tends to have a few brown spots. I also have a variegated Gasteria. I tried growing this one outdoors in the summer in full sun and it did not like it. I find that this one likes bright shade. Check out the Leninghausii. It's a beauty. It also has a tiny little cortex, so I don't water this one a lot. I give it a little bit of water once a month. I also purchased this beauty this year at one of the Toronto Cactus and Succulent shows. Those shows are so good, you always find some little gem to take home. Check this out, it's the Agave Victoria Reginae Cream Margarita. What a gorgeous little plant. I also find that this one likes it bright and does not prefer direct sun. I can't wait to put this variegated moonstone in an arrangement. I'm also thinking about giving her a little chop and propagating. I'd love to have more of this plant. It used to be hard to find a variegated Euphorbia miliis. Lately I've been seeing them at Vandermeer. These guys are so beautiful. They do flower a nice pink, but I also find that they require a lot of water. I have to water this one every 2 days to keep it from dropping leaves. Here's a beauty that I also picked up at Vandermeer earlier this year. It's the Hawaii palm. This one is drought tolerant. I water it every 2 weeks. Now last summer I tried growing it on the balcony and it did not like it at all. It actually dropped all the leaves. Check out this variegated Gymnocalycium. It's such a beauty. I enjoy the look of this plant. It's beautiful and low maintenance. It's on the windowsill where it's nice and bright, and I only have to water it once a month. Check out the flower on this Haworthia. This Haworthia bowl is such a treat. I love putting all of these together, and I'm hoping these plants are gonna pop and fill out the pot completely. There's a lot of plants in this pot. Now I understand that they are summer dormant, so I hold back watering in the summer. Then I only water once a month. Now that it's winter, it's every 2 weeks. This little guy in the center is not enjoying it at all, but I'm hoping it's gonna pull through. If not, I'll replace with a new one. Now that I'm thinking about it, there was a Haworthia truncata in the center as well that perished. I probably should just replace a plant in the center with some kind of decorative rock. I also have a few plants that require a little TLC. They're new acquisitions and the majority of them arrived bare rooted. This one's the Euphorbia melliformis. I purchased it from Thang Plants in one of his pre-orders. Since these are growing roots, every so often I put a little bit of water around the rim of the pot just to hydrate the soil just a tiny bit. This one was purchased from Lucky Flower Greenhouse on Instagram. It was also bare rooted, so it's slowly working on its roots. Isn't this a beauty? It's the Temper Cactus Geometricus, also a new one to my collection. It arrived bare rooted, so I'm quite pleased that it's still holding on to that little growth on top. The plant is nice and firm, but I'm gonna still give it a few more months in the cabinet, even wait until I see a new growth before removing it. I picked up these Astrophytum asterias from one of the Echinocactus and Succulent show. They're hanging out here until I put them in an arrangement. This Masonia bulb will take a couple of years to mature. For now, I'm just trying to keep it as happy as possible. Whenever it needs water, the leaf is flat against the gravel, but when it's hydrated, the leaf sticks up straight. So I've been following that method to keep it happy. Also picked up this Euphorbia japonica or pineapple cactus from a Lucky Flower Greenhouse. This one came bare rooted, but I can see there's a lot of new growth coming, so it's a happy plant. This Euphorbia purpureum was also purchased from Thang Plants in one of his pre-orders. Look at this beauty. It's acclimated quite nicely. It was bare rooted and had no leaves when it arrived. The nice thing about having the IKEA greenhouse is that I'm able to control the humidity and the warmth the plants get. This is going to be very beneficial over winter. Plant friends, I never thought I'd get my hands on one of these elder curry. Thank goodness Thang Plants had them in his pre-order. In a pre-order sale, this was $45. An amazing price for such a large plant. These lupifloras are just hanging out here until I find an arrangement for them. In the greenhouse, I don't need to water them often since it's very humid. And look at this beauty, it's flowered and throwing off some seed pods. Here's some Astrophytum super kabutos. I only water them every 2 months. Again, one of the benefits of the greenhouse. This little beauty is the pseudolithos. This one makes me nervous. When you really want to plant in your collection, that's the time you get the most nervous for killing it. So for this one, I give it a little squeeze to see if it needs water. If it's squishy, I'll give it a little bit of water. If it's firm, I leave it alone. I use the same method for the Ariocarpus. This one has only been watered once in the last 3 months. I almost forgot about these too. You might have seen the unboxing video. They're settling in quite nicely. It will still take a few more months for them to plump up fully and to start showing signs of new growth. For now, I'm keeping them in a nice, warm and humid spot in between the Mandula and the Orchid Cactus. Plant friends, here's one more of my arrangements. You know I like doing these because it saves a lot of space. I've got the Temper Cactus tucked in here, as well as the Moon Cactus and some Euphorbia trigonas. All the plants in this arrangement were given to me as gifts, so they're really special to me. Plant friends, here's the cactus bowl. You'll remember this one because I did a repotting video just a few days ago. It's jam-packed with a lot of goodies, and some of them will flower every once in a while. In here I've got the Euphorbia trigona, the Peruvian cactus, Buddha's temple. Look at this booby cactus. It's grown a lot over the years. I'm wondering if I should chop and propagate. There's the Old Man of the Andes in here, Silver Torch, as well as the Golden Torch. And off to the side, this plant that's called Dead Plant with the tiniest ever flower. Every once in a while, this Dacarii will throw off a little flower. There's also a little bit of pests on the Buddha's temple. I'll need to spray these down with a bit of diluted hydrogen peroxide and dish soap. Here's another arrangement that I'm working on. A few of those plants from the IKEA cabinet will do well in this arrangement. There's some nice sun stressing on this variegated monodenium. And check out this senecio, it's so cool looking. These senecios can also flower, so I'm hoping to see that one of these days. And look at this graph with the yellow, it's so intense. Some more Temper Cactus, and I love that this one's throwing off a little new growth. There's also a Ripsalis in here. Now these plants are in the living room where it's very sunny. It's southern as well as western exposure. These plants are getting a lot of light, so they do require watering every week since they dry out fairly quickly. The string of buttons really thrive here, but in the summer I keep it on the balcony where it's getting full sun, and in the fall it tends to bloom. Now plant friends, I find that the bloom is very stinky. In the fall I moved her back inside when it was getting really cold. After a couple of days I couldn't stand the smell anymore. I purchased this plant as a tiny little cutting as well. It's impressive how much it's grown over the years. I purchased this one from Valley View a number of years ago. It was one of those succulents in the 1.5 or 2 inch pot. The little darling has grown into such a big beauty. Now this one stays out on a balcony in summer where it's getting a lot of sun and it enjoys it. In the fall I leave it out as long as possible until nighttime temperatures are about 5 degrees, and that really gives it that nice stress color. Now this little mini variegated agave gets the same care. It's out on the balcony until late fall. Now this one I find that it doesn't like to be overwatered. When it's overwatered, the leaves tend to split. Since it's winter, I'm going to hold back on watering for this one. It's going to get watered once a month. This one's the Sansevieria Dragon Wing, or Sansevieria Succulent. Well, this one has nice thick leaves and it does hold water in the leaves. Now this beauty was a big plant when I purchased it, but it's gotten bigger over the years. It's shot out quite a number of pups. It's definitely in need of repotting. It's practically bursting out of the pot. Now this is also low maintenance. Those leaves hold on to a lot of water, so I actually only water this plant every 3 months. My friends, this Euphorbia trigona, I picked it up at Lowe's for 15 bucks a few years ago, and it was a small plant. It's grown so much. It's low maintenance as well. When I first purchased this plant, I did a repotting video, and since that video I've had to cut this plant back. My friends, here's the Euphorbia amac. This is a gorgeous beauty. I purchased it from Vandermeer a few years back, and it was 5 plants in one pot. The plants have gotten so big I had to give away 2. The top 2 inches is all new growth for this fall. On this windowsill, I've got a few more arrangements and plants. Remember this Aliwadia from the Toronto Cactus and Succulent show? Well, this summer it was loaded with leaves. Now that we're going into winter, this plant's shedding all the leaves and going into dormancy. I'll water this plant very sparingly until spring. My friends, this one's the totem pole cactus. If you can get your hands on one of these, definitely do. They're such a treat to have, and there's no spine on this beauty. Absolutely smooth. And it's low maintenance as well. Every once in a while I'll give it a little squeeze to see if it's squishy, then I'll give it some water. My friends, I'm also obsessed with the agaves. If I had space, I'd get some more of these. This one was reasonable. I purchased it at Vandermeer a number of years back. I believe it was $6 at the time. My friends, here are some more arrangements. There's so many little gems tucked in here. Look at this Euphorbia globosa. There's also an Horida in here. Now take a look at this crested beauty. Isn't it beautiful? In the past I've cut off these little growths, but I notice they sometimes grow encrusted, so I'm going to leave them and see what happens. Now this little Euphorbia obesa was a little stowaway. It came with my rainbow cactus. It was just a tiny little seedling. I'm so proud that this one's grown so much. Here's another Euphorbia obesa. It's in flower. I'm never sure if it's a male or a female. I also like to give them a little squeeze to see if they need water. This Astrophytum is so rewarding, it blooms every summer. I also managed to squeeze a couple of agaves in this arrangement. Let's have a look at the second arrangement. This arrangement also featured a crested plant. Look at this succulent. Look at this weird grafted beauty. It actually bloomed for me a couple of times. I also had a bloom on this little aloe or gasteria. We've got an Echeveria and some more Astrophytums. Now this pot does not have any drainage holes, so I feel the leaves to see if they're squishy, and that's when I water this. Sometimes only the Echeverias need water, then I'll do a little spot watering. The name on this one is Echeveria Lovely Rose. The cotyledon is a winter grower. It likes it cool, so there's a lot of active growth points on this one. Now this gorgeous beauty is the Sinocrassula yenanensis. Look at the beautiful black foliage. This one I spot water the most. It tends to dry out very quickly. What a beauty. Now this one's either an aloe or a gasteria. Sometimes I can't tell the difference. So in this pot there's 2 Astrophytums, 2 Lovely Rose, and 2 cotyledons. Now this grafted Euphorbia lactea has grown so much, plant friends. I can't believe the growth on this. In the summer it gets a lot of sun stressing. It gets nice and pink. Now there's also a little new growth on this one, which normally you would chop off, but I'm gonna let it grow out and see what happens. Oftentimes I've thought about parting with this Pachypodium, but over the years it's getting better and better, even more beautiful with the branching. This one also goes dormant over the winter, so slowly it will start to drop all the leaves. Then I will hold back on watering. Here's Echeveria champagne. I also kept this one outside as long as possible in the fall. Then it turned to a nice pink. I'm surprised at how quickly it's reverted back to green since being inside. I find that this Echeveria can also handle a lot of sun. In the summer it was on the balcony in full sun every day. Here's a curly orchid cactus. Now this one, when it blooms, the bloom opens for one night only, and it's nice and fragrant. I let this one dry out completely before watering. I've not repotted this beauty. The soil is a little bit old, so repotting is needed. The newest plant to my collection is the zigzag euphorbia. I purchased this one from Belgian Nursery last weekend. It's nice to take home a euphorbia that's in flower, and this beauty was only $25. Thanks for watching, plant friends. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and follow me on Instagram at Life of Bellina.